our next group of candidates are the District 4 County Commission candidates. We have 4 of those guys here tonight. Dwayne Jones, Roger Reedy, Matthew Hopkins, and Chris McCartney. If you guys, when you introduce yourselves, please make sure you state your name. Because I understand that although we tried to make those cards real big where you can read them, that the people online are having a hard time seeing the names. So just make sure you give them your name whenever you introduce yourself. Mr. Jones, if you'll give me a second to get in my seat, we'll get started. You there yet?
You ready? My name is Dwayne Jones. I'm running for re-election from District 4. I am a retired law enforcement officer for 34 years. When I moved here, I became a reserve sheriff's deputy. I have served over 50 years in law enforcement in my career. I am also a member of the Fraternal Order of Police here in Giles County, where I am the treasurer. In the reserves that we belong to, I'm also the treasurer of that group. I'm on the board of directors of the Giles County Senior Citizen Center, and I am the vice chairman of the Economic and Development Commission here in Giles County. I am a fiscal conservative. I believe and support the Constitution of the United States. Thank you.
I'm Roger Reedy, and I've been a lifelong resident of Giles County, except for the 4 years I went to school and got a degree in chemical engineering. Now, I got my degree from Tennessee Tech, but I got my education from my mom and daddy on a middle 30s style cotton and hand milking farm. But the best education I got was with my daddy out behind the woodshed. Now I'm telling you that is a common sense type education that has served me well. And I have retired out of the chemical and the power business. I was operations manager for a 750 megawatt power plant. And that entire time that I worked, I was a moonshine farmer. I come home, I get home, I get my flashlight, and I go farm and check cows every night. Raised 2 sons to learn to do that. Been a commissioner for 20 years. You say you're too old, you need to get out of that. You can't teach old dogs new tricks. But old dogs can teach new dogs old tricks. So we need to be a part of the county commission. So that's who I am. I am for education, I am for Giles County, and I am for the growth of this county.
My name is Matthew Hopkins, and my background is that I am a small business owner, and I've been running an IT business, IT consulting business for 13 years. So telling you that to let you know that I understand how to handle a budget, how to keep it on track, and how to stay in business. Again, most businesses fail in the first year. I'm 13 years in. Kind of gives you a clue. I at least know something about how to handle a budget and how to keep money working, which is something I think that this county really needs. I'm also a deacon at Friendship Baptist Church in Culleoka, and I tell you that so that you have some idea of what my values are. And I hope that that gives you some clue about that. Now, why am I running for this office? Basically because I'm kind of fed up with government, and I hope and I believe from the people I've talked to that a lot of you feel the same way. Now, it doesn't mean everything's bad, and I know we've got 2 people up here that have been serving for quite some time. I'm not saying they've done a terrible job. I don't want anybody to take that impression. I just believe that we can do better. And there are lots of ways we can do that. I'm sure we'll get to answer some questions as we go along about that. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name's Chris McCartney. I work as a nurse anesthetist at the local hospital here in town. Moved my family here in 2016. Loved every minute of it. Really enjoy the county. Love living here. Great people in the county. My wife is also an anesthetist part-time, so we might see some of y'all. We have seen some of y'all at the hospital, I'm sure. Happy to take care of you all hours of the night. Little sleepy-eyed sometimes. But besides that, moved to Giles County. My family, my parents moved out here, and we brought my wife's parents too. So we bought the farm literally, and it's time to get more involved, and that's why I'm here.
Very good, gentlemen. We have two incumbents tonight, two new gentlemen here, and I'm going to start with a very subjective, non-controversial question before we get into the hard stuff. Where would you most like to see progress in Giles County in the next 4 years, and what will it take to make that happen? And Mr. Jones, we'll start with you.
The progress I would like to see is that we increase our infrastructure here in Giles County. If we have a better outlook, or not an outlook, but a better infrastructure with our schools, our roads, our hospitals, police, fire department, this is going to attract business to this community, because when a business comes here, or when you move here, and like Chris says, and Matthew, and myself have come here from other places, you look for the education, you look for better fire, you look for those things, that infrastructure that make this a great place. And if it's there, then you're going to move your family here. And industry is going to come in, because that's the main thing. They want a place where their employees can feel it's a good place to live. And Giles County is a good place to live. Thank you.
Would you repeat that?
I will. Where would you most like to see progress for Giles County in the next 4 years, and what will it take to make it happen?
Okay, I'd like to see more progress in education. The building block for a good, sound economy is in education. If you don't have good education, then you have nothing. If you read some of the stories of the old-time educators, you see how they've struggled to make that happen. Also, I would like to see industry come into town. I would like to see some industry that revolves around agriculture. Agriculture is our number one source of income in related agricultural industries. And I would like to see some industry come in to help support that, so that we can have a beautiful agricultural-based county continue. I would like to see more development and more regulations around subdivisions, because right now the building programs in the county are one house for one hilltop, and buy the land around it. And it's not long before you run out of hilltops. So we need good subdivisions that has good quality housing that people can live in. And that's why we can then have people that will live here, work here, rather than live somewhere else and come here to stay. So I think that should be some of our top priorities. Then I think another thing is that we need to look for extra sources of income. You know, oftentimes it's said that if you cannot drink yourself sober, borrow yourself out of debt, and also you can't just save yourself into prosperity, because you'll have, if you ever read Silas Marner, you see that you don't have anything for very long. You've got to develop things that will bring extra income into this county other than just bleeding the taxpayer.
Okay, so I would like to see, like everyone else, I'd like to see growth. I mean, now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to turn this county into something other than what it is. I love the fact that this is a very rural place. And again, one of our, as already mentioned, one of our biggest industries is agriculture, and I don't want to really see that change. However, I do believe that we have good opportunity to bring in good-paying businesses. Now, we've got a county south of us and a county north of us that have huge growth. That growth is going to spread to us whether we want it or not. So what we've got to do is prepare for it. And that does mean dealing with infrastructure, as already mentioned, but it also means getting better businesses in here. I'm not talking about small stuff. We've got to have some larger businesses in here. You have to. If you want to keep good wages, it's necessary. We'll also help you with the taxes. If you get some good industry in here, you're taking some of that tax burden off of the people, off of us, and getting it onto the businesses. It's not going to solve everything, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's somewhere that we can increase our funds without trying to drain the taxpayers. And I think that will give us a lot of benefits just by doing that. I mean, better jobs. We'll bring in better, hopefully stronger infrastructure, as we can afford to do that as well, which is going to be necessary for those companies. As I've already mentioned, I'm in a technology field. It's IT consulting. So I understand that that's something that we need as far as having that good infrastructure, and that also means having good internet. And I know that concerns several people here because that's something a lot of us don't have. I only get cell service at my house for internet. That's it. So obviously, next thing is to focus on education. Why? Well, you can't focus on that until you've got more income coming in, and that's why I'm saying I'd like to focus on the business growth first. Thank you for your time.
I believe the question is about progress, correct? So one of the main areas everybody talks, it was last night, it's tonight, it's the schools, it's education for our children. My wife and I almost decided not to live here. I took the job, I was going to take the job and live in a county more north because of what we thought was issues here with the school system. So that's huge. It's forefront for me. That's a necessity. That's a need. We have needs and we have wants. I think in the past, we've gotten wants and needs confused, and that's why we are partly in the situation that the county's in. I would, as far as progress, you go to other towns that are our size and don't pay any more taxes than what we do here in our town. They have parks. They have really nice parks, places that families can go and enjoy together. They have, I have kids. I have 3 children. Some of them play baseball. They have really nice city baseball fields. We don't have one. Taxpayers don't pay for anything here. I'm not necessarily, that's a want, okay? That's not a need. But the county has not really done much for the children here in the past that I can see. That we have not put an emphasis on the children, starting with the schools, but there's after-school programs. There's other things the county should be in place, and we've gotten wants and needs very mixed up. Allowing the growth of the county is paramount to that. The taxpayers have enough burden on you with what you pay now. And if I'm calculating my taxes correctly based on what I'm reading, the proposed, it looks like it's going to go up based on my new appraisal, which if you're like mine, it was dramatic. So the county is going to bring in more money. We need to allow businesses to come in and support them to allow that growth. Let them handle some of that burden of funding the issues in the county. There's more, but
Do anybody, if you want to add some more, we'll give everybody a chance to add some more to that.
Part of growth, and maybe this touched on a previous question, is we've got to have more funding. We've got to look at you want to have safe, right? You want our police departments need to have enough personnel. We've got to have funding for the police departments to have enough personnel to provide a safe environment. Having 1 or 2 deputies, in my opinion, maybe some evenings that have to cover the entire county is not really acceptable. This is a very large county. How can they possibly do that when there's an issue? It is shocking to me. Having 1 EMS on call, or one EMS available, ambulance available for the county to transport patients and pick up patients and do everything they need to do is unacceptable. So there's a lot of area for progress.
Would anybody else like to add any more? Just want to give everybody a chance to say all they wanted to. Okay.
I would like to follow up that question, and I don't mean to preempt Brandon, but with all that was said, it's known through economic development that 40 to 50% of our workforce in Giles County are non-residents. They're making their dollars here and paying their taxes elsewhere. What are some ways that we can increase our tax base by increasing livability?
Let's start from Mr. Jones.
Affordable housing is one. That there is housing for everybody here, and that is something that lacks here. When I talked about companies coming here, they look at where they're going to put their HR people. They're going to look for where they're going to put their managers. They're going to look for where they're going to put their upper echelon people. And there is no housing developments here. If we increase that, it's going to increase businesses coming here. Again, it's into the infrastructure again of what the prettiness, I guess you would call it, that we want to portray for this county. We want them to drive by a high school or an elementary school or a middle school and see a nice building, because that's the impression that they get. If you care for your buildings and you care for your schools, you're going to care for your children. And so that's something that needs to be addressed off the bat.
Mr. Reedy.
I agree with Mr. Jones that we do need more affordable housing. We need better housing. We need that housing in, a lot of that housing in subdivisions. We probably have the most lax subdivision regulations of any county that surrounds us, the absolute most lax. And so somehow we need to assure people that come in here that they've got good housing, good drainage, good roads. And that's what we try to do, predominantly roads and the subdivision regulations that we have. We do need good aesthetic appeal to our schools, and inside and out. But we need, I don't know if you're going to get into the teachers in a minute, but we need good teachers. We need excellent teachers, and we have them. And maybe the reason we have them, we have such excellent teachers, is because we pay so low that only the very sincere, dedicated people that want to stay here, that love teaching and love students, are here. And the ones that are balancing it between loving the students and loving the job and wanting the money are gone. So we've got the people that want to teach kids, and that's what is a big calling card. I gotta quit.
So I believe there are a lot of ways to draw people in here and keep them here. Admittedly, housing is part of it, especially with the way it goes right now, because housing is so expensive. And admittedly, so much of our stuff is farmland. So when you go out, you're not always looking at being able to get a subdivision home. You're ending up with, okay, I'm getting 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 acres, whatever it is, my point. So when you're looking around, there's not a lot of subdivision style housing in the county, and that is something that's relevant. But as has already been mentioned, we also need to deal with having some amenities. It's not all about low-cost housing. It's not all about one individual thing. You have to have a draw, something that people want to go there for. You've mentioned other counties around here and said, oh, well, they've got all the, this is free, that's free, ball fields or whatever. We don't have any of that. Now, I know that's not where you spend money and you say, oh, great, look, we're spending money on a ball field, or we're spending money on a park. What's the income draw? Where's our tax draw for that? Well, it's by getting people to live here, because they want to live here, because they see, hey, this is really a nice place. There are lots of things we could go do if we lived here. That's something that we're not focused on right now, and I understand a lot of that's funding. It's something we're going to have to work on.
That, it definitely is an issue, and it rings home at the hospital. There's I would say most providers that work at the hospital locally don't live here. And the reason for that are for the issues that we've discussed. We could hardly find a place to rent here. I just wanted a decent home to rent. And being that I take call at the hospital, it has to be, I have to be able to get there within 30 minutes. And I barely got through. I was going to actually rent in Lawrenceburg, and something fell through on that, and we found something at the very last minute. But that's a big issue. People have to have, companies are going to come in, they've got to have a place to house people to rent, nice places. I'm not going to dwell on that anymore. Redoing, and this isn't something that the taxpayers need to pay to be funding necessarily but redoing the square. Go down to Columbia, and you see it's turning into a really nice area. And I've only seen it since 2016. But just the businesses that are coming in there around the square because of the growth, it's a really nice area, turning into a really nice area to be. So I think just as the county grows, things like allowing, encouraging businesses to get and come in around the square there, having that central place is very attractive when you drive into a town for the first time. And obviously allowing good jobs that attract people to come. That's why I'm here, And one more thing, I'm sorry. Before, internet. Everything runs on the internet these days. I have barely got internet some days at my house, north of town on Milky Way. Everybody needs to get on the internet. Cell service is very shoddy. I can't carry on a conversation from my work to where I live on Milky Way without it dropping about 4 times. So we've got to do something with the internet services for the county.
Our next question, and we'll start with Mr. Reedy. The sentiment tonight has been progress. Progress costs money. Infrastructure costs money, services cost money, and inflation is hitting everyone in this room just like it is towns and counties around this whole country. It's costing us more to run services for the same amount of dollars. When it comes to county government, the only way to increase the funds available is to increase the taxes or increase the tax base. How do you see in 5 to 10 years in the future in Giles County, how do we keep funding our current services and have progress at the same time?
Well, I think that we will grow. We will grow if we manage it right. We will grow in population. Now, all the amenities that we've talked about here that they have in other counties, they cannot exist without the customer base. You've got to have a customer base if you're going to have a lot more shops, a lot more restaurants, a lot more recreational activities. Without the customer base, they can't exist. They'll go out of business shortly. So if we get the good housing, affordable housing, then that will help. Another thing, good schools. And one of the things I want to expound on is the fact that this tax increase that we're voting for the county, not for the city. You're already paying it in the city, 25 cents on $100 out in the county. Now, how does that make up very much money? Well, a few years ago when we remodeled the Sam Davis Park, we had a referendum inside the city, and the county agreed to let all the money from that sales tax increase go into the repairs of Sam Davis Park. But when the park was paid for, the money continued to come into the city. The city has been extremely nice about this. This is a legal thing, and they keep the money, but they have been giving part of that money, and they don't know how much it's bringing in to the schools. So the city leaders are in agreement with the fact that we can get up this sales tax increase and get all the money that is coming in from the tax increase that was voted in, and all goes to the schools. Now, that, you say, well, that's a tax increase, I'm not going to vote for it. We'll vote for a deferred tax increase, because if we don't get more money in, we're going to have to increase taxes sooner or later.
Okay, so again, bringing in new business has got to be a key. And that means we need to go out and court those businesses. That's got to happen. That's the only way we're going to be able to increase the tax base without, and get more money in without going back to the citizens. So we have to go for that growth. And some of that's going to mean spending some money. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to have to look into some grants and some other options that are out there. Federal grants, state grants, because you're going to have to go in and get the infrastructure, which right now we don't have the infrastructure in a lot of places. And I know that that's something that the commissioners have been working on, but it's not done. We need more work. We've got to get that accomplished. And I can't tell you all the options with grants that are out there, but I know they exist because I've done the basic research that anybody else can do when you can actually get on the internet, if you're lucky enough to get it around here, and find out that there are plenty of funding sources. Now, does that mean we can get all of them? Does that mean it's going to happen overnight? No, it takes time for all of that. But that's what we're going to have to focus on. That's what we're going to have to work with. In the meantime, is there going to be something else? Is there going to have to be some kind of an increase in order to cover our expenses? Yeah, that's possible. Do I want it? No, good grief, I don't want a tax increase. Besides, we all know once a new tax goes in, does it ever go away? No. So I don't want to go that route. I want to find other solutions first if we can. But until I can dive into the budget in more detail, there's not a whole lot I can tell you other than what my intentions are and what I want to try to do. The rest is going to have to be doing more research. Thank you.
So, could you repeat the question just so I'm fresh on that?
Yes, with progress costing money and inflation affecting everyone, including government, the only way you can increase your funding is through increase of taxes or increasing your tax base. So how would you address the issue of getting more funding?
Sure. Thank you. So, yeah, we are in between two of the fastest growing counties around. Murray County is, I believe, the fastest growing county in Tennessee, and we're sandwiched by the county here in Alabama that I believe is the fastest growing county in Alabama. So we are growing. Our tax base is growing, number one. So if we did nothing different and we collected no new taxes anywhere, we will have more income this coming year than we did last year and next year, and so on and so on and so on. We will continue to grow. People want to move to Tennessee. They want to move to places like Giles County. So we will collect more money if we did nothing different. However, saying that, in the immediate need future right now, as I understand it, the sales tax that will be up for a vote again this year, it is 25 cents for every $100 that you spend in the county. Everybody already pays that exact same sales tax. We already pay it today if you shop anywhere in the city. Now, my understanding is the city has not been contributing what was told they should contribute to the schools system, that 50% of that money should be going to the school system. And from my understanding, it's unclear if that's actually happening or not. However, if the county passes it, that actually would have to happen. So you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue that it would increase just by the amount of people that travel through the county, stopping at a gas station, stopping at a restaurant, you name it, spending money out in the county that isn't collected right now. Am I a big fan of taxes? No. Do I want to pay more taxes? No. But I think that is one option, and the people decide. The commissioners don't decide that. That's up for every voter out there. When you go to the polls, you can decide. But just to be clear, 50% of that increased tax is mandatory to go to the school system, from my understanding. So you can decide when you vote.
I would like to add something to that real quick. When it was passed by the city, the 50% was not required to go to schools. The city has, since they paid for the park, put $1 million over the last 5 years to the school system. if it is passed countywide, it automatically 50% goes to schools.
Okay.
Just to clarify, yeah.
That's where I was going to come in on that. Again, when we're talking about the, not taxes, but raising everything around here, it's the infrastructure. If we make this place the place that you want to come, industry is going to be here. Schools are going to be here. So we have to start kind of like from the inside to work out to get business and people to come here. Just like Scott said, the local sales option tax, we're talking 25 cents on a dollar. I like to look at it, $100. I like to look at it better as $1 on 400. Okay, we're talking about $1 on 400. And that's not a lot of money, and it not only does it help the school system, it helps the cities where that tax is collected. Ardmore, Linville, Minor Hill, Elkton will benefit that, which will increase their tax base, which will increase their livability for people wanting to come to those towns, which increases, the county tax dollar. So it's a win-win situation, and I know that the commissioners can't raise that, but we can push it. We can get out there and talk about it and show the people that we need this for education. We need this for our existing towns. We need this for our county to grow. Thank you.
One other just mention, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but my understanding is on that particular tax, that would put the county at the state maximum, and the city's already here. So it's not like 25 cents per 100 this year, and then next year we can vote more, yada, yada, yada. It's like a one-time, it's at the state maximum, it's done.
That's correct. It would take the state to raise that before it could be raised anyhow.
Okay. What am I commenting on here? I done lost out listening to these guys. I'm sorry.
We're on to the next question. You're good.
They kind of circle back.
Okay. Well, I have something I'd like to talk about too. We talk about, since we all talking, we're talking about internet service and things like that, and everybody's having trouble with internet service. Well, you can relax because the cavalry is coming. The cavalry's coming. Ms. Green has gotten ARP money. She's got a lot of money for the county, and there is plan for a lot of internet broadband coming into the county. So the cavalry's coming. So just hunker down.
Out of fairness, I'd like to give everybody else that 30 seconds as well, if anybody wants to add anything on that, on the internet.
Yeah, so the internet, most of that's being provided, from my understanding, from various grants, and most of those are going directly to the providers to push that out. And while that's great, depending on what area you're in, there's some areas that are covered really well. There are some areas that are not going to be covered so well because those grants go to different areas, again, different companies. Personally, I'm in the northern part of the county, northeast, and let me tell you, I've talked to, that's United up there, and yeah, they don't have any intentions of doing any more. They stopped at the Marshall County line. They're not coming any further unless they get another grant. So yeah, there's some improvement, there's some progress, but it all depends on where you live. And just want everybody to be aware of that.
Anybody else? Okay. Next question.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the need for residential development and expansion through subdivisions into our county, with that being a need and being imperative from a county commission standpoint. Please talk about how our county government can protect Giles County from potential nuisance or dangerous property usage while balancing the rights of these property owners. And Matthew will begin with you.
There are several ways to do that. know the first one that most people like to throw out is, okay, we're going to zone it. We're going to put zoning in. That's one option. I'd rather not have to do it that way. But I mean, I do agree that we do need to make sure that everybody still has full land rights. I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their property. There are some businesses I'd like to tell what they cannot do with their property. There are some ways to do that as far as what the land use type is. Again, not putting businesses into rural areas. Again, it's how the land management use is, which I know the commission got rid of the previous land management rules, and I understand why they did. There were a whole lot of problems with those. Do we need to implement something else that will handle some of that? We probably do. I don't want it to be restrictive on anyone's personal property, but as you said, I do want to deal with, as the questions asked, I do want to deal with stopping nuisance, or preventing nuisance businesses. No one wants a junkyard showing up next to the door. No one wants a dump next to them. But those are things that I believe we can make some rules for that.
So I think, most people would agree. You don't want a landfill being put next to you and those kind of things. I think there are some state laws that address some of that as far as the growth and the subdivisions. People that I've talked to since I've been out a little bit in the county doing campaigning, they do not want zoning laws. They don't want a stack of papers this tall telling them what they can and can't do with their own property. They don't want it. From what I've talked to, now, if you feel differently, please come talk to me. Let me know. But I have not found that to be very popular. I'm here to represent what the people want in the county. I'm not here to push my own views. That's just how I feel about it. Now, can other options be done other than a big booklet we're going to inherit from somewhere else with zoning laws and rules and permits and things that you have to apply for and follow? Yes. The city of Houston doesn't have any zoning laws. Somehow they grew to be a big city with, they managed and some people good, bad, in between. There are other options. One option, can individual county-wide ordinances be made? Yes, they can. Common sense ordinances. I just don't think that, from what I can tell, people don't want a big stack of rules telling them what they can and can't do with the property that they purchased. So I think that there can be some common sense ordinances or rules, keeping it very simple. I think we've got enough government, we've got enough rules being shoved down our throats every day from you name it where. I just don't think anybody's looking for that. There it is.
I think there has to be an effort between the citizens and the commission to get together and make some rules. Not a stack of rules, but some rules. I think the public needs to have more input in what they want because we work for them. So they need to have more input in what they would like to see. I would like to see a group get together that can sit down and talk about implementing some basic, sensible rules. There's rules every day on our property that we have that we don't even think about. You take the center line of the highway. There's 37 and a half feet from the center line of the highway to your property that belongs to you, but it's the state right away. If you put your fence up and they want to do something on it, they can tear it down and not have to worry about it. So there are rules that we as landowners face that we need to not expand on, but to make it better for what we want. We don't want, and I think the example the other day was the landing strip next door, okay? Or I want private property I own this piece of property, I want to start my own industry. and there's no rules and regulations. So we have to have some basic rules to live by, not hard, fast rules to say we can't use our property or my neighbor's grass is too high. You know, those are the kind of things that we need. Thank you.
We do need some protection. We're a wide open county right now. In agriculture, we're having difficulty trying to figure out what do you do with dead animal removal. Dead animals, they go to a landfill right now. The University of Tennessee has developed a composting system that you can compost dead animals. But where in the world in Giles County can you put a dead animal composting system? And right now, anywhere you want to, if you own a piece of land outside the city limits, you can put it there. So there's no regulation for things like that. We do have the Jackson law that works toward landfills, but somehow we can make a balance. It's nice to be able to build you a house on your land for your child or your grandchild or your in-laws, and that we need to try to keep that kind of freedom here. But we need to try to have some regulations that can help regulate where things go for industries that have the potential for damaging the scenic beauty of this country, or for damaging the health of the people, or for preventing future development some other place. So we need to have something of that nature. And I've been on the Regional Planning Commission. We had a land use management plan trying to do that, and that was initiated back when a hazardous material incinerator was coming into the county back in the 90s, and then a rock quarry during the 64 expansion. So that's what promoted that. But now we don't have that, so we can either live wide open or we can develop some type of protection against a nuisance industry.
Gentlemen, it's been a great conversation, and I'd love to go on, but we do have another group coming up. So I'd like to start on the right this time with Mr. Mccartney. I'll try to give each one of y'all a minute and a half, if you don't mind, to just anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to touch on, and whatever else you'd like the folks to know.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you for setting this up. Thank you to everybody that came out. It's a beautiful county we have. I think we all have similar goals, and that's keeping the county beautiful and providing a good place to live for people with good jobs. And, we go about it different ways sometimes, but I think it's a critical time in the county with the growth happening. We can either be proactive and support and allow some growth in developed ways, or I think that we could head down a road that it will be pretty hard to undo. So it's also an important time if you just look at the country as a whole. It's time for the average citizen to step up, get more involved, and that's why you guys are here tonight, I'm sure. But we need more of that. We need more people who, regular people, I'd say, who have jobs and pay taxes to get more involved, and that's why I'm here.
I guess after listening to all this tonight and listening to the questions that are posed, it kind of gives you some idea from the last group to this group as far as what the focus is on for this county. It's a matter of how are we going to handle the growth that's coming, because it's coming one way or another.
That's right.
And we haven't really planned for it very well, and we're going to have to. And we're going to have to deal with it. As we've said, we've got counties on either side of us, north and south of us, that are huge growing counties. And we're going to have to deal with the influx because there's going to be overflow from them. They're going to come here. As Mr. Carley said, it doesn't matter if we do anything differently or not. We're going to have that growth. The key is we need to manage that growth. We need to plan it out if we want to keep our county beautiful, which it is. But if we don't plan for it, it's going to be all over the place as far as whether or not, or where the growth is and whether or not it keeps the county beautiful or it trashes it. And I really love this place. I've been here 3 years now. I love it. That's why I'm running. I want to make sure it stays this way. Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Hopkins. This place is going to grow. You can't put a wall around it and stop it from happening because it's going to happen. And I too think that over the past many years, we've never anticipated this happening, and we're not ready for it. There are a lot of people that are ready for it, and it gets done little pieces at a time, like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. So we've got to have some regulations in place that helps people find a spot to go to and plenty of housing to do it. And I appreciate the people that have supported me for the last several years as county commissioner, and I'd appreciate your vote now. If you see fit that one of these young men can do a better job, then that's okay too, but I would appreciate your vote.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. The audience here, the audience on TV and on YouTube, and for taking the interest to see your government and the people that represent your government in action. This is what we do. We work for you, and I hope that you see fit to reelect me. You know my voting record. It's public information. Everything I do is public. So again, I want to thank y'all for coming out, and I want to thank that lady right back there for 53 years of standing next to me to make me the person that I am.
Boy, she's got some
She has got some stick. That duct tape works good.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate your time.